Hello and welcome back to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am your host, Precious D, and today I have with me my special guest, Kiersten Geddes, and we will be discussing Ginger Snaps from the year 2000. Welcome to the show, Kiersten.
Thank you so much for having me on.
So this movie is in color and it's 108 minutes, directed by John Fawcett, and it stars Emily Perkins, Catherine Isabel, and Mimi Rogers as their mother. Kiersten, what did you think of this movie?
I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. I'm not huge into werewolf-inspired movies, but I was pretty pleasantly surprised with the tension that they kept up and just the dynamic between the sisters. Like, as somebody who is an older sister and has two younger sisters, I really related to it a lot. And, trying to make sure, even though it was the younger one that was, trying to help the older one, it still resonated really well with me. And I thought that they did a really good job of not showing the monster too much and kind of, teasing what was going on with that. I really ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Well, I really like werewolf movies in general, but I particularly wanted a young lady to discuss this one with me because it's so much about young lady issues.
Yeah, it's definitely very femininely charged for sure.
Mm-hmm. It is possibly the slowest werewolf transformation of all time.
That is true. They do really take their time with it.
Usually you get bitten and then you live with it for a little while until the full moon comes and then you suddenly turn into a werewolf. This girl is sort of slowly metamorphosizing into a werewolf over time, and they don't do a whole lot to connect it to the moon.
Yeah, no, they don't really connect those dots at all. It's you kind of have to infer from some of the stuff that's going on to really kind of sort of even put those pieces together at all.
It's about a couple of sisters. It's a Canadian film.
I did not realize that.
Yes, and it is about a couple of sisters, Ginger, where we get our title from, and Bridget. Ginger's the older sister, but Bridget skipped ahead a year in school, so they're in the same classes.
I was so confused about that for a minute because I thought it was supposed to imply that they were twins. And so when they were in the nurse's office and they were like, oh, we're 16 and 15 and she skipped a year, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I wish you'd put that a little earlier in the film because I just assumed they were twins.
Well, the fact they had the same gym class, you get a lot of grade mixing in gym class, but it seemed like they had all their classes together.
Yeah.
And that is not usually the case. When the movie starts, both of these girls seem suicidal and just so dark and goth. And folks, if you have any thoughts like that, please call the hotline. 800-273-8255 is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline here in America, but I'm sure there's one for whatever country you might be living in. But these girls have a very dark view of life, and they seem to have kind of made some kind of pact that they might want to get out of it all by the time they're 16.
Yeah, they play with that a lot in the early part of the film, especially.
They keep saying out by 16 or something. I can't remember.
Out by 16 or dead on the scene. Dead on the scene.
Yeah. So I don't know what they meant. Out of town by 16 or dying in town.
I think that was the intention, was that they were going to try to run away from the little town that they were in, or they were going to kill themselves, I believe was the implication there.
We mentioned back in our Shed episode that everybody in a little town thinks their little town sucks. And it doesn't. Your town is fine. Your town is what you make of it.
Yeah.
If you're not happy,
it's a lot harder. Go ahead.
If you're not happy there, you're not going to be happy anywhere.
True. I think it's a lot harder for people of that age to kind of realize that, though. I think maybe it's more of a thing now in modern movies, because with modern movies and TV shows, because you can see that there's quote unquote so much more out there. We have so much more access to what the world is like. So maybe it wasn't as big of a thing back in the older generations, but now it's like, oh my God, I see, Broadway and Hollywood and the world, and they think oh, there's so much more out there. But like you said, it's really not about the capacity of the town or what's in it. It's so much more than that. And it's so hard, I think, for younger people to wrap their brains around that.
Yeah. But these days, of course, the girls didn't have access to this, but these days with the internet, we're making this podcast here in Odessa, Texas, that everybody badmouths all the time. But we have listeners all over the world. and we're just doing it here over the internet. Kiersten and I are not in the same room.
Nope.
I've recorded with people from other states. And according to my analytics, I have listeners from all over the world, or I have listeners from the US who are using VPNs and will not tell me.
That is also a possibility.
I need people to email me and tell me where you are listening from. monstermoviefuntimego@gmail.com.
You're like, hey, Precious C, I'm actually not from Sweden. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I'm just from Amarillo. Oops.
Right. The budget for this movie was 4.5 million. I'm not sure if that's Canadian or American.
Yeah, that could be a big difference.
The box office was 572,781.
So it did not make back its budget in the slightest.
Well, it didn't at the box office, but it seems to have made its money on video sales and rentals.
Yeah, it definitely seems like one of those that has become maybe a cult classic is a little hard to classify, but a cult beloved maybe.
Yeah, it's got some kind of, so it must have made enough money on home video that they greenlit 2 sequels.
Right.
Which were filmed back to back, and we'll get to those in the next 2 episodes. But it must have made enough money on the back end or whatever they call it to justify that. So it probably had a fairly limited theatrical run, but it does have some kind of a cult status. I used to have a VHS copy of it. I did not see it in the theater. I saw it in the video store and bought it, and then bought the other 2.
Well, then there you go. Just kind of probably with everyone else too.
Yeah.
But this definitely seems like, I was a little young for it at this time, but it definitely does seem like the kind of thing that you would just go to Blockbuster and be like, no, looks good. Might as well. I'm in for something that's a little less Blockbuster, like, in the movie sense of Blockbustery. Let's just take it out, and then maybe you like it, maybe you don't.
Yeah. You see, kids, you used to have to go to a store to rent videos that were on
Netflix crap.
They were on a cassette, a videotape cassette. And you had to put it in a machine, and you had to rewind it when you were done. Yep. I said this before, but I'm going to say it again. If you told my grandparents when they were young that someday you could go to a store and rent any movie you wanted and take it home, they wouldn't believe you. And if you tell our grandchildren that you used to have to go to a store to rent a movie and take it home with you, they will not believe you.
Yep. How times change so fast.
Yep. This won a few awards. Well, like some industries, like let's see, Toronto International Film Festival got a special jury citation.
Oh.
Malaga International Week of Fantastic Cinema.
Okay.
Got Best Feature Film, Best Special Effects, and Best Actress for Emily Perkins.
Oh, good.
Toronto Film Critics Association Awards gave it Best Canadian Film. Vancouver Critics Circle gave it Best Canadian Film and Best Actress in a Canadian Film for Catherine Isabelle, which is not the same as Best Canadian Actress in a Film. Best Actress Best Actress in a Canadian Film.
Oh, interesting.
I think she is. I think she is Canadian, but
okay.
I'm saying you could be a Canadian actress in an American film.
Yeah,
Genie Awards for achievement in cinematography and achievement in editing. These were nominated. Sorry, some of these were not nominated. It won the Malaga and the Toronto. It was nominated in these others. And Canadian Comedy Awards gave it Best Writing Film, Pretty Funny Writing.
Oh.
International Horror Guild gave it Best Film. Saturn Awards gave it Best DVD Release.
Oh, okay. That feels almost a little like a slap in the face, but I can see for this one maybe where that would. Well,
I don't know if it was released in theaters in America. It might have gone straight to DVD. And
I could see that.
VHS. Fangoria Chainsaw Awards gave it Best Limited Release Film / Direct-to-Video Film, Best Screenplay, and then it got nominated for Best Actress and Best Supporting for Emily and Mimi Rogers. So that's pretty good as far as those genre awards go.
Nothing too big and crazy, but a good chunk of stuff.
There's supposedly a TV series in development.
I had seen something about that.
That's as of last year. So, of course, it's going to be a slow roll because of COVID. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what you do in an ongoing series.
I feel like you would have to, because so much of the tension, at least in the first film, is about that like month cycle, like leading up to the transformation. And so trying to stretch that out into, you could get a season out of it. Like I could see like a mini series, but a full TV series, you would have to like, I don't know.
Is she going to be? Is she going to be fighting crime? Is she going to be just involved in all sorts of drama all the time?
Yeah, every time you turn around, she's
fighting other werewolves. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I used to watch a show called She-Wolf of London. That was during what I think of as the golden age of syndicated television.
Yeah,
in the mid to late 90s.
Oh wow!
But I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah,
I keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I definitely be interested in tuning into it for sure. I'm not very confident in it, but I won't rule it out. I'll say that, especially if they can stick to the energy that the first movie had. I think there's some potential there. We'll see. Yeah. And I think it really hinges on who they get for the main two, because for me that was so much of the compelling nature of it was Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabel were just so good in it, and so they would need really strong actresses for that.
Now I don't think they really look very much like sisters.
No, they don't. But they've actually played sisters another time too. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't think I did. What was that in?
So this is actually funny because I was watching it and it was specifically Bridget. I didn't really recognize Ginger, but I kept looking at Bridget and I was like, why does she look familiar? So I pulled up her IMDb page to like see what I'd seen her in before, and my phone like auto scrolled to the bottom and it had like the trivia facts, and it was like, fun fact, Emily Perkins actually has played sisters with Catherine Isabel twice, and it was like in the Ginger Snaps films, and it was in Another Cinderella Story with Selena Gomez. So they were the evil stepsisters in the modern day Cinderella, and I was like, okay, well that explains where I've seen her before specifically, but what the heck?
Okay, I will have to check that one out.
I mean, it's definitely not Ginger Snaps, I will tell you that, but they from what I remember, they played good sisters in it. I think Ginger or Catherine Isabel was the smart one, and I think Emily Perkins played really dumb in it. So I remember her being pretty funny as the like dumb ditzy evil stepsister, but it's not Ginger Snaps, I will say that.
Well, Catherine Isabel is in one of my favorite movies. Oh? Josie and the Pussycats.
Wait, she was in Josie and the Pussycats?
Playing, her credit is Laughing Girl, and I think it must be, there's these three girls that laugh at them in the beginning.
Okay.
And then partway through, once they start becoming famous,
and
become rabid fans. Yeah, and come knock on their hotel. Yeah, they knock on the hotel door and they're like, "Hey, we know them." Yeah,
I do remember those characters, and that kind of sounds right. And it would be, around the same time of this, so that would be fitting. But damn, I'm gonna. I mean, you just gave me another excuse to go watch Josie and the Pussycats again. So, oops.
Hey, you never need an excuse.
True, very true.
Anytime is the right time for Josie and the Pussycats.
True.
So this movie does a lot of, it equates the curse of being a werewolf with the curse of being a woman, the curse of menstruation, as people used to commonly refer to it as. It's not really cool to call it that anymore, but that is, a thing that's out there in society, that idea that is a curse. It's certainly terribly inconvenient and uncomfortable, as I'm led to believe. But so they put those two ideas right next to each other, because these two teenage girls have not yet gone through that when the movie begins. And
they did.
Ginger doesn't, and Ginger does almost as soon as she's been bitten, like the next day, right?
She gets it like right before she bleeds, I think, or before she gets bitten.
Okay, I think
they were trying to imply that the werewolf found them because she started bleeding, and that's what caused them to be interconnected.
I think you're right about that. The werewolf was attracted to the scent of the blood.
Yeah.
So that yet another way in which that was inconvenient.
Yeah, and you could even sort of imply that like, I mean, a lot of people see that as like a woman's like sexual awakening in a lot of ways. So you could almost try to like create an analogy there of like, you know, werewolf is like a masculine energy. And then the moment that she becomes, you know, able to reproduce, if you will, that like they just latch onto her, and it just changes the way like society sees women in a lot of ways, because it's almost like you're a kid and then you're a woman. Like a lot of girls don't get those teenage years the way others do. And so I think that like you could easily draw that analogy between the werewolf scenario when she first gets bitten and that in real life.
Right. Well, and she starts getting more sexual after she gets bitten.
Yeah, very fast.
Although part of it is also she's feeling an urge and she mistakes.
Yeah, that was another thing. Yeah, which I thought was kind of funny, but I don't know if it was intentionally supposed to be funny.
Right. Yeah, she thinks she's having sexual urges, but she's actually having let me murder something urges.
Yeah. Which, you know, hormones are confusing. Feelings are confusing. Sure. Sometimes you think you want to make out with somebody and actually you just want to wrap their hands around their neck and just, you know, it's a bad time, you know. So I can't say I blame her.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. You have my sympathies.
Well, thanks.
So I really, really, really like this movie.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Like I said, not that I thought it was going to be bad, but I was pleasantly surprised with how they did, and the ending too. I thought that the ending they stuck it a lot more than I thought they were going to pull back, and they didn't. And I was really pleasantly surprised that they kind of sunk their teeth in and just let it happen.
Now, Bridget keeps trying to help cure Ginger. With limited success. Ginger is very much presented as the pretty one, and she's got guys interested in her. And Bridget is not, and doesn't even seem that interested in guys. And yet this stoner guy, this drug dealer, starts trying to help her. Well, he's there. His truck runs into the werewolf.
When they right after Bridget gets bitten.
Yeah. So
or not Bridget, Ginger.
Yeah. So he sort of knows. He knows what he hit was not a regular dog wolf. Yeah. And starts hanging around with her trying to help. Although at one point he explicitly tells her, "Hey, it's not about that. I'm not attracted to you." Yeah, and I actually like that because I feel like it could have been really easy to read it that way. And so like drawing that line, I was like, you know what? Good for you guys for doing that. Yeah. At the same time, though, he does seem very interested in helping her, making sure she's okay. So I don't know. Maybe he's got a big brother vibe going on. It's not. Yeah, good. That's kind of what it seemed almost more like a protection thing to me. And I don't know, maybe it was just they didn't have enough time to develop him as a character. That's something that if they do it in the series, they could probably expand on a little bit more. Right. But I feel like, you know, there's not a lot of that sort of like non-related big brother, platonic guy and girl friendships a lot in media. So it was nice to see that be very much like not really interested in you, I just want to help you sort of situation. Yeah. I mean, just because he's a drug dealer doesn't mean he's all bad. Yes, truly. But Bridget fails and ends up having to kill Ginger, basically. Yeah. Although she then infects herself she does that a little earlier. I don't remember at what point, because I know at one point she starts trying to like drink the blood, and then she like backs up. This is before. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember at what point it's at. She does a sort of like blood brother, blood sister thing where she cuts her hand and mixes her blood with Ginger's blood. Mm-hmm. And apparently that's enough. Show that they're in it together. Yeah, like the pact from the beginning. And thinks that maybe she can help her by somehow connecting herself. Yeah. But that does not work out. But this is going to end up being a problem for Bridget in the next film. Yeah. Yeah, they concoct a solution of monk's head, which is a plant that's related to wolfsbane. I don't know why they didn't just straight up make it wolfsbane. Yeah, the only thing I could think is that they were maybe trying to be not as cliche about it or whatever. Yeah. They wanted to try to be smarter. They're like, we're actually going to think about what goes into it. But it didn't bother me too much, but it was a little odd. And it's apparently readily available at craft stores. And maybe that's true. Maybe you can get it at craft stores and you can't get wolfsbane. Maybe if they could have found some actual wolfsbane, it would have worked even better. But they try to suppress the symptoms with this concoction, and it works a little bit. Mm-hmm. They also try. The drug dealer gives. Bridget has lied and told the drug dealer she's the one that got bit.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's partly because she promised Ginger she wouldn't tell anyone, so she needs to talk about it, so she'll just lie and say it was her. But he gives her his silver earring, thinking this is going to help purify the blood or something. And for some strange reason, they decide they need to pierce Ginger's belly button.
Yeah, that was a really bizarre choice. I don't know what was up with that. Like literally any other place on the body you could have.
I didn't notice if her ear was already pierced and they could have just put it. I don't know what that was. I don't know if they didn't want it to show, if we could hide it by doing it in the belly button.
Maybe.
I don't know, but that doesn't seem to work either.
No, it also comes out very quickly too. So,
so in the end, though, poor Bridget has to kill Ginger.
Yeah.
Once she fully turns into a werewolf and attacks her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she even does it on purpose. Ginger kind of lunges at her and sort of falls on the knife.
Yeah.
That Bridget's holding.
I think she was still trying to fight and hope that maybe there was a way she could save her, and then just the circumstances of it just doesn't let it happen. And it's really sad. You can tell that she's devastated about what she just did.
Yeah. And then she just lays down next to her and cries and puts her head down on her chest and cries.
Those last 20 minutes, it was just such a roller coaster of emotions, honestly. Like, well, because I'd spent most of the movie like, well, it's kind of spooky, but it's not that spooky. And then like the last 20 minutes, it's so tense because Ginger's trying to hunt down Bridget, and then you have like people dying, which is already like, oh God, no, this can't be happening. And then you have that where you're like, shoot, she just had to kill her sister. Dang. And so it's just like a roller coaster of emotions. And I think that's a lot of what made the movie stick for me, was just that I genuinely thought, I was like, oh, maybe they'll figure out a way to like cure her, but then there'll be like long lasting effects, which is where the sequels come out of. And nope, they just straight up killed Ginger.
Yep. Oh, I don't think I realized this was happening at Halloween for them.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that, because that ending right before they do the final chase scene and the killing in Ginger and Bridget's house. They're at a Halloween party, and like Ginger shows up in like the first bit of the transformation, and it just looks like she has like a prosthetic and a wig on, and so like nobody looks at her. She's just like walking through in like her outfit and everything, and everybody's just like, hell yeah, you got a great outfit. And it's like, it's just kind of very random.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. The werewolf is Ginger. The werewolf has red hair like Ginger does, and I really
That's true.
I really liked that.
I didn't even connect that. That is really clever.
Yeah, I like, usually just all werewolves look the same, and I liked that its hair matched her hair. Appreciated that.
Yeah, that was a really nice touch.
So, Kiersten, out of 5 pumpkins, how many pumpkins do you give Ginger snaps?
I think I'll give this one a 4 out of 5 pumpkins. Honestly, I was pretty pleasantly surprised with it. It wasn't my favorite movie ever, but it was just scary enough to keep me on edge without being too spooky. I would definitely come back to this one, and I think a lot of the performances were really good. So I think some of the effects were a little cheesy, so I kind of dock it on that a little bit. But we can't all be winners, so I'm not going to hold it against it too much.
They were all practical effects. There was no CGI.
Oh, really?
In this, yeah.
Well, so most of it looked pretty good, but there were a few moments that I was looking at it and I was like, I don't really like the way that looks. I'm not scared by this.
Well, I'm going to give it 5. I like it. Folks, if you want to watch it, it is on Vudu. All 3 of the movies are on Vudu, free with ads.
Be warned, sometimes the ads will pop up in really bad spots, but it is worth it.
I think it is also on Pluto or Tubi or a couple of those places that have lots of movies free with ads. Oddly enough, you can't seem to buy it anywhere.
Oh, really?
Sometimes on Vudu, the stuff that's with ads, you can also purchase it if you just want to own it. And some things come out of the free with ads things. They'll add new things and they'll take some things out. But nobody seems to have it where you can actually just buy it right now. You'd have to you'd have to find an old copy on eBay or something. This seems like the kind of thing they... Go ahead.
I would say it seems like the thing that would be like readily available at like maybe like in the $5 bin at Walmart or something like that. Like you just have.
Yeah, it seems like there should be a Blu-ray set with all 3 movies.
Or that, yeah.
But
especially because Halloween's had such a resurgence in recent years. That's like the perfect thing to buy and binge.
Yeah, but you can watch it free if you care to. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow with Ginger Snaps 2 and the day after with Ginger Snaps Back the Beginning.
Ooh.
Until then, you can email us at monstermoviefuntimego@gmail.com, or you can leave a message at anchor.fm/mmftg. And we will not see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go.